Welcome, dear listener, to another journey into the world of gods and myths in Sleep of the Gods. Tonight, we turn our gaze to the vast, ever-changing oceans, to the crashing waves and the quiet depths, and to the god who rules them with power, mystery, and awe, Poseidon, lord of the seas, horses, and earthquakes. Before we dive into the stories of Poseidon, I invite you to take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, letting me know where you are listening and how the gentle rhythm of mythology carries you. Your support helps keep this exploration of the ancient world alive. If you joined us for our earlier voyages through Olympus, you may remember Zeus, the king of the gods, and Hera, the queen whose wisdom and influence shaped both gods and mortals. Tonight, we explore the perspective of Poseidon, his triumphs, his storms, his passions, and the many ways he has touched the world of mortals and immortals alike. Close your eyes, let the gentle hum of the ocean fill your mind, and imagine yourself standing at the edge of a boundless sea. Feel the salt-kissed breeze on your skin, the soft crash of waves against hidden rocks, and the endless horizon stretching out before you. This is the realm of Poseidon, a place where calm and chaos coexist, where strength and mystery reign, and where every story begins with a ripple in the water. Together, we will journey through his origins, his domains, his family, and the legends that shaped civilizations, all told in a calm, slow rhythm to carry you gently toward relaxation and sleep. Let us begin. Poseidon was born into a world of chaos and divinity, one of the mighty children of Cronus and Rhea, the titans whose power preceded even the Olympians. Like his siblings, he was swallowed at birth by Cronus, who feared a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him. The very idea of a god confined within a titan's stomach evokes a strange sense of tension, of potential trapped within darkness, waiting for release. Yet Poseidon was not alone in this ordeal. His siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Zeus, shared in the peril and promise of destiny. Zeus, the youngest, would grow to orchestrate the liberation of the Olympians, freeing each child from Cronus's grasp. Poseidon's release was a moment of triumph, a breaking free into a world where his powers could manifest fully. Imagine the earth trembling as Cronus vomited the gods, a violent yet miraculous scene, where chaos and relief mingled in the air, foreshadowing the power Poseidon would wield over land and sea. From these early moments, Poseidon's temperament began to reveal itself. Even as a child, he was connected to the natural world in ways other gods were not. His eyes reflected the depths of the ocean. His moods shifted like the tides, and his laughter could mimic the roar of waves or the whisper of a calm stream. In the halls of Olympus, he was recognized not only for his strength, but for his capacity to move between calm and storm, a duality that would define his character and his relationships with mortals and gods alike. Poseidon's early interactions with his siblings shaped his identity. With Zeus, he formed a partnership that balanced their ambitions. Zeus ruling the sky and heavens, Poseidon claiming the oceans, Hades the underworld. These divisions of power, while practical, also reflected the gods' personalities: Zeus's strategy, Poseidon's passion, Hades' quiet intensity. Even in youth, Poseidon demonstrated both a keen sense of justice and a volatile temper, traits that would color his myths and interactions throughout history. the sea itself became Poseidon's domain almost immediately. Legends tell of the first waves he commanded, rolling and curling across the nascent world, shaping coastlines, islands, and rivers. He tested his strength by calling forth storms and calming them again, learning the rhythms and secrets of his aquatic realm. Dolphins, sea horses, and the first nereids began to surround him, drawn to his presence, forming the early court of his watery kingdom. Each creature, each current, each tidal surge was an extension of his being, a reflection of his moods, his intentions, and his power. Even in Olympus, Poseidon was known for his complicated relationships with other gods. He sometimes clashed with Hera over matters of pride and honor, competed with Athena for city patronage, and worked alongside Zeus when divine or mortal balance required his intervention. These dynamics would ripple through countless myths, demonstrating that even gods must negotiate, compete, and collaborate. Poseidon's origin, therefore, is not just a story of birth, but a story of integration into a cosmic order where his unique strengths and challenges would shape the world for ages to come. In imagining Poseidon's early life, picture the first seas forming beneath his hands, the salt air on Olympus, the shimmering light refracted through waves, and the quiet hum of life beginning to stir beneath the surface. Every ripple, every wave, every creature is part of his story, a reminder that the god of the sea is inseparable from the world he governs. Even his early triumph over darkness and confinement hints at the balance of freedom and responsibility that defines his myths, a balance we will continue to explore as we move deeper into his domains, his power, and the incredible legends that surround him. Poseidon's realm is vast, encompassing not only the seas, rivers, and oceans, but also the earthquakes that shake the land, and even the creation of horses, which gallop across the earth as reflections of his untamed spirit. His power is both immense and multifaceted, a reminder that the world of the gods is never simple, and that their influence stretches into every corner of nature and human life. The trident, Poseidon's iconic weapon, symbolizes his authority over all waters. Crafted with divine precision, it can split the earth, summon storms, and stir the deepest ocean currents. Imagine the slow, deliberate movement of his hand, the trident's 3 prongs piercing the horizon, summoning waves that rise and crash, or calming a raging storm with a single sweep. It is a tool of both creation and destruction, embodying his duality, nurturing sailors yet punishing the reckless, giving life to fertile coasts yet eroding them with relentless tides. Horses are another key symbol of Poseidon. According to myth, the first horse sprang from the foamy waves, a gift of the sea, untamed yet majestic. These creatures became sacred to him, representing freedom, power, and beauty. In coastal villages and inland cities alike, horses were revered, and equestrian games often dedicated to Poseidon honored his influence. Each gallop echoes the rhythm of the waves, a living reminder of the god's connection to both land and water. Poseidon's sacred animals also include dolphins, creatures that symbolize intelligence, guidance, and harmony with nature. Dolphins appear in many myths as helpers or messengers, often guiding lost sailors or protecting those who show respect to the god of the sea. Bulls, with their raw strength and energy, further illustrate his power, untamed, magnificent, and sometimes destructive. together, these animals reflect different facets of Poseidon's nature: grace, wisdom, fury, and primal force, each telling a story that mortals can witness and revere. Coastal cities and islands dedicated temples and shrines to him, acknowledging his sway over storms, tides, and natural disasters. Sailors invoked him before voyages, offering sacrifices of food, coins, or animals, hoping for calm seas and safe passage. Festivals celebrated his influence, sometimes solemn, sometimes joyful, reflecting the unpredictable rhythm of the waters he governed. Picture the incense rising from temple altars, the soft chant of priests, and the gentle sound of waves blending with human devotion. An intimate, sensory connection between mortals and God. But Poseidon's power is not limited to the ocean. He is also called Earthshaker, responsible for earthquakes and tremors that remind mortals of his presence and influence over the land. Ancient cities built near fault lines often offered special sacrifices, acknowledging that the god who rules the seas also has dominion over the solid ground beneath their feet. His influence is constant in every tidal wave, in every rumble beneath the earth, in every storm that sweeps across the horizon. Poseidon's personality shines through his control of the elements. He can calm a raging sea to allow a ship safe passage, or stir storms that toss vessels like toys, reflecting his emotional depth and volatility. These displays of power, combined with his symbolism, teach mortals lessons about respect, patience, and the delicate balance between human ambition and nature's vast forces. In myths, Poseidon is often portrayed in vivid imagery. A tall, commanding figure with hair like crashing waves and eyes deep as the ocean trenches. The foam swirls around his trident. Dolphins leap playfully at his feet, and the horizon bends under his gaze. These visualizations, coupled with the stories of his powers, immerse listeners in a world where the god is ever present, his domain boundless, and his influence immediate. Temples dedicated to Poseidon often featured statues of the god in full command, trident raised, muscles taut, eyes fierce yet calm. Sacred spaces overlooked seas and harbors, reminding worshippers that the god's gaze encompasses all waters, from the smallest creek to the mightiest ocean. Each ritual, each offering, each festival is a testament to the awareness of his omnipresence, authority, and temperament. As you listen, imagine standing at the edge of the water, feeling the rhythm of the waves echo through your chest, the wind carrying the scent of salt and the faint whisper of the sea. Every ripple, every tidal surge is a manifestation of Poseidon's power, a constant reminder that the natural world, like the god himself, is beautiful, unpredictable, and eternal. Through these stories, symbols, and rituals, Poseidon's presence becomes more than myth. It becomes an experience, an ASMR journey into a realm where the sea is alive, the earth trembles, and every being, mortal or divine, is connected to the rhythm of the waters. Poseidon is a god of contrasts, embodying both serenity and fury, generosity and vengeance. To understand him, one must look beyond mere myths and imagine the rhythm of the sea itself, calm one moment, tempestuous the next, beautiful, yet potentially devastating. This duality is central to his personality, shaping not only his interactions with mortals, but also his relationships with the other gods. He could be patient and protective, offering safe passage to sailors who honored him, guiding ships through treacherous waters, and calming storms that threatened lives. Yet, his wrath could be sudden and intense, a force as unrelenting as a tsunami, striking mortals, cities, or even fellow gods when provoked. This temper was not merely punishment. It was a reflection of the balance of respect and power inherent in nature itself. Poseidon's relationships with other gods reveal much about his character. With Athens, he famously clashed over the patronage of Athens. Both sought to gift the city a symbol of prosperity, and when Athena presented the olive tree, Poseidon offered a saltwater spring, a bold gesture that ultimately failed to win the favor of mortals. This rivalry highlights his pride, his desire for recognition, and the lengths to which he would go to assert his power. With Hera, Poseidon often found himself in the delicate dance of diplomacy, especially during disputes among the Olympians. His interactions with Zeus were sometimes cooperative, sometimes competitive, each seeking to assert their authority while maintaining the fragile balance of Olympus. In moments of collaboration, Poseidon's strengths shone, his insight into the seas, his ability to influence natural forces, and his guidance of heroes and mortals alike. Even among mortals, Poseidon's temperament is clear in his myths. He could reward those who showed respect with calm waters, abundant catches of fish, or fertile lands near the shore. Conversely, he could punish arrogance or hubris with storms, shipwrecks, or earthquakes, reminding humans that the sea is not to be taken lightly. This dual nature mirrors the human experience, a reflection of joy and fear, hope and respect, patience and consequence. Sensory storytelling brings his temperament to life. Imagine a quiet coastal village at dawn, the gentle lapping of waves against wooden docks, the whisper of the wind through reeds, the distant cry of seabirds. Poseidon's presence is felt subtly here, a calm, protective influence that allows life to flourish. Now imagine the same village during a storm, waves towering over cliffs, lightning splitting the sky, thunder echoing like the roar of the god himself. This is the essence of Poseidon's temperament, a reminder of the immense power that lies just beneath the surface of the world. Poseidon's personality also includes deep loyalty and connection to his family. Despite his temper, he protects his children, both divine and mortal, often intervening in myths to ensure their survival or guide them toward their destinies. Heroes like Theseus, Bellerophon, and even Odysseus in different ways felt his influence, learning that the sea is a teacher, one that rewards respect and punishes arrogance. At the heart of Poseidon's temperament lies pride and dignity, tempered by responsibility. His myths often show him confronting rivals or asserting his domain, yet these actions are framed by a sense of cosmic order. Even in moments of anger, there is a rhythm and purpose, much like the natural tides that rise and fall with predictable yet powerful cycles. Understanding Poseidon requires patience and attention, a willingness to see the fluidity of power and emotion mirrored in the world around us. As you listen, imagine standing on a cliff overlooking the endless ocean. Feel the breeze, hear the waves, sense the underlying energy of the god who commands them. Every ripple, every surge, every distant storm carries a fragment of Poseidon's essence. In his temperament, we find lessons about respect, balance, and the understanding that power, when wielded wisely, is both protective and transformative. Through these reflections, Poseidon emerges not just as a god of stories, but as a living presence, a figure whose calm, wrath, pride, and dignity echo through the myths, the seas, and the lives of those who honor or encounter him. Poseidon's family life is as vast and dynamic as the seas he rules. Among mortals and immortals alike, his relationships shaped myths, inspired heroes, and left a mark on the world's imagination. Central to his story is Amphitrite, a sea goddess of remarkable beauty and grace, and a daughter of Nereus and Doris. While Poseidon's love for her was unwavering, their courtship was not without tension. Amphitrite initially resisted his advances, retreating into the hidden depths of the ocean to avoid the god's attention. Poseidon, persistent yet patient, sent delicate messengers of the sea, including dolphins and sea nymphs, to encourage her return. The image of the ocean at night, soft waves brushing hidden coral palaces, dolphins gliding silently through moonlit waters, and Poseidon himself summoning the currents to create gentle whispers, all evokes the tender care with which he pursued Amphitrite. Eventually, she accepted, becoming his queen, and their union symbolizes the harmony between strength and subtlety, passion and high patience. Together, Poseidon and Amphitrite bore children who carried his influence into both divine and mortal realms. Triton, perhaps the most famous, is depicted as a merman, half human, half fish, blowing a conch shell to control the seas and signal gods and mortals alike. Triton serves as both messenger and guardian, a reflection of Poseidon's powers and responsibilities. Other children, often mentioned in various myths, include Rhodos, Benthesichime, and even mortal heroes such as Theseus, who in some accounts received guidance from Poseidon or blessings connected to his watery dominion. Poseidon's interactions with mortals through his children often show his dual nature, protective and rewarding when respect is shown, yet vengeful when arrogance or hubris appears. Take the story of Polyphemus, the Cyclops, whose encounter with Odysseus illustrates Poseidon's capacity for wrath. Polyphemus, as a child of Poseidon in some versions, represents not just strength, but the unpredictability of the sea itself. The god's punishment of Odysseus, blinding the Cyclops, is a ripple effect of divine family dynamics, showing how intertwined Poseidon's personal and cosmic influence can be. Poseidon's role as a father and divine ancestor extends into mythical creations as well. He is credited with creating horses, which in some stories were gifts for mortals, particularly humans who honored him. The image of white-maned steeds emerging from foamy waves, galloping across misty beaches, is an ASMR-like visualization. Each hoofbeat echoes the rhythm of waves. Each neigh carries the power of Poseidon's breath and energy. Through these creations, he leaves a lasting mark on the world, blending the divine with the natural. Even the Nereids, his extended family of sea nymphs, highlight Poseidon's influence over the underwater realms. They serve as companions, guides, and sometimes advisors, reflecting the god's authority and the beauty of his domain. Together, they represent the richness of marine life, the unseen currents, and the secrets hidden beneath the ocean surface. A vast and intricate network of relationships that mirrors the complexity of Poseidon himself. In addition to Amphitrite, Poseidon had other consorts and offspring, both mortal and divine. These connections are not just romantic or familial, they are symbolic of his reach and influence. Mortals touched by his lineage often became heroes or kings, their fates intertwined with the tides and storms of the god's mood. Each child, whether divine or mortal, carries a fragment of Poseidon's essence, strength, unpredictability, and the ability to navigate both calm and chaos. Through these family stories, Poseidon's personality is enriched. He is not merely a god of storms and earthquakes, but a father, a partner, and a guide. His interactions show tenderness, patience, pride, and sometimes anger, all flowing like the currents he commands. Picture his underwater palace, grand and shimmering with coral and pearl, where Amphitrite moves gracefully, Triton practices his calls, and the Nereids dance around sunbeams filtering through water. The waves whisper with Poseidon's voice, every ripple a reminder of his presence, every shimmer a reflection of his power. By exploring his family, we also see the broader impact of Poseidon on myth and human imagination. Heroes rise, cities prosper or fall, influenced by his lineage, while his stories teach lessons about respect, humility, and the interplay between divine authority and mortal lives. Each myth involving his children adds depth to his character, providing countless threads that weave together the tapestry of his influence across the Greek world and beyond. Poseidon's presence was felt differently across the Greek world. Each city, each island, and each coastal village had its own stories, reflecting both the god's immense power and the unique relationship humans had with the sea. Let us travel through these regions, listening to whispers of waves and the soft murmur of ancient towns as we explore Poseidon's regional myths. In the ancient city of Corinth, Poseidon was venerated as the guardian of both land and sea, for the city's prosperity depended on trade and travel by water. Local legends tell of a terrible earthquake that shook the city, splitting roads and toppling temples. The people believed that Poseidon was displeased with the king's arrogance, his disregard for offerings, or the neglect of sailors' safety. To appease the god, the citizens of Corinth would bring golden tridents and fresh fish to coastal altars, praying for calm waters and fertile lands. One story recounts a fisherman who, on the eve of a violent storm, whispered a prayer to Poseidon while offering a small dolphin figurine into the waves. The storm, fierce and dark, approached the harbor, yet his boat remained untouched. The villagers saw this as proof that Poseidon rewarded humility and reverence, a lesson repeated in Corinthian ritual for generations. In another tale, a young boy named Callias attempted to sail without paying tribute to the god. A sudden earthquake tipped his boat, tossing him into the water. Only after he cried for forgiveness, singing the hymns taught by elders, did Poseidon calm the waves, guiding him safely back to shore. These stories reinforced respect, humility, and attentiveness, values that shaped Corinthian society and their relationship with the sea. In the neighboring city of Sicyon, Poseidon was often called Enosigaios, the earth shaker. Earthquakes were seen as his direct intervention, a physical reminder of his presence and authority. Local myths describe times when temples trembled and walls cracked, interpreted as warnings to kings who governed with cruelty or ignored divine law. One famous legend recounts a tyrant who refused to fund the temple of Poseidon after a bountiful harvest. That night, earth shook violently, sending buildings tumbling. Villagers fled to the coastline, witnessing the rising waves that mirrored the tremors of the land. The tyrant, terrified and humbled, offered lavish sacrifices and rebuilt the temple, earning the god's favor once again. The myth served as both cautionary tale and explanation for natural disasters, a blend of fear and reverence that permeated local culture. Even small children learned of Poseidon's power early, listening to tales by the fire of waves rising from the coast and the gentle hum of sea winds that seemed to carry his voice. Crete's connection to Poseidon centered on his creation of horses, a gift that symbolized his strength and influence over both land and sea. Legends speak of a white stallion rising from foaming waves near the island's shores, its mane sparkling like sunlight on the ocean. Farmers and horse trainers revered this gift, offering small statues and carvings at coastal shrines. In one tale, a young Cretan boy named Iason attempted to tame a wild horse that had emerged from the sea. The horse seemed untouchable, prancing across cliffs and foamy beaches, guided by a vision of Poseidon, who appeared as a figure riding the waves. Iason learned patience and respect. Only by moving with the rhythm of the ocean, waiting for each wave to crest and recede, was he able to approach the creature. The boy's success became a symbol of harmony between humans and the god, and the story spread across Crete, inspiring local horsemanship traditions. On islands such as Corfu, Poseidon's myths often mixed with tales of sea monsters and hidden treasures. Fishermen would leave offerings at dawn, placing small tridents carved from driftwood into the sand, believing that the god would bless their catch and protect them from the deep's unpredictable dangers. A particularly famous legend speaks of a hidden underwater palace, glimpsed only by those traveling in dreamlike states or guided by dolphins. The palace was said to contain glowing coral, pearls as large as fists, and tridents encrusted with sea gems. Poseidon would sometimes allow mortal visitors to witness his domain, testing their humility and reverence. Those who attempted to plunder the treasures without respect were never seen again, swallowed by the waves as a gentle, cautionary reminder of the god's power. In Delos, the birthplace of Apollo and Artemis, Poseidon's influence was seen as both protective and mischievous. Sailors recounted tales of sudden squalls that appeared and vanished, guiding ships towards hidden coves or leading them astray. These unpredictable patterns were interpreted as Poseidon testing their courage and devotion. One story tells of a merchant ship carrying grain to Athens. A sudden storm, dark and violent, threatened to sink the vessel. The sailors, recalling the proper rituals and prayers, offered a small portion of their cargo to Poseidon mid-storm. The wind shifted, the waves calmed, and the ship reached port safely. The tale became a local proverb: respect the sea, and Poseidon will guide your way. A mantra repeated by generations of Aegean seafarers. Poseidon's myths are vast, spanning the depths of the oceans, the heights of Olympus, and the lands where mortals dwell. His stories are not just tales of power, but lessons, warnings, and immersive journeys that reveal his temperament, his influence, and his inescapable presence in the ancient world. One of the most famous contests involving Poseidon is his rivalry with Athena over the patronage of Athens. Both gods wished to offer a gift to the city. Athena presented the olive tree, a symbol of peace, sustenance, and wisdom. Poseidon, in turn, struck the ground with his trident, producing a saltwater spring. Mortals observed both gifts, weighing practicality against power. Ultimately, Athena's olive tree was chosen, but Poseidon's attempt left a lasting imprint, This myth illustrates his pride, creativity, and desire to shape the world, even when faced with divine competition. Imagine the city at dawn, the salt air mingling with the scent of olive leaves, the sound of water rushing from the ground, a visualization of divine contest and natural beauty. Another defining tale is that of Laomedon and the walls of Troy. The Trojan king commissioned Poseidon and Apollo to build impregnable walls around the city. Once the walls were completed, Laomedon refused to pay the gods. In response, Poseidon sent a mighty sea monster to terrorize the coast, demanding tribute. This story demonstrates his capacity for wrath, his insistence on respect, and the way divine influence could directly shape mortal fate. One can almost hear the crashing waves, the roaring monster, and the panic of the townspeople, feeling Poseidon's presence in every tremor and tide. Perhaps the most enduring of Poseidon's myths is his role in the Odyssey, particularly the story of Polyphemus, the Cyclops. Polyphemus, in some accounts, is a son of Poseidon. When Odysseus blinds the giant to escape captivity, Poseidon unleashes his wrath upon the hero, stirring storms, destroying ships, and prolonging his journey home. This narrative is rich with tension, suspense, and imagery. The cave echoing with the Cyclops' roars, the smell of fire and livestock, the salty taste of the sea, and the ominous power of Poseidon hovering just beyond the horizon. Through this myth, listeners can experience both fear and awe, sensing the god's dual nature, punishing but not capricious, wrathful yet fair in his cosmic reasoning. Poseidon is also credited with the creation of horses. According to myth, the first horse rose from the foamy waves, a symbol of his divine strength and the blending of earth and sea. Horses become integral to many hero myths. Bellerophon, riding Pegasus, confronts monsters and overcomes obstacles, his journey made possible by Poseidon's gift. Even Theseus, in some stories, benefits from Poseidon's guidance, learning that the sea is both a challenge and a mentor. Imagine the sound of hooves thundering along wet sand, waves crashing gently nearby, and the wind carrying the salt and spray, a sensory illustration of Poseidon's influence reaching from the water to the land. Storms and earthquakes are central to Poseidon's myths as well. When mortals hang to him, the seas can rise in fury, ships capsize, coastlines erode, and entire villages feel the god's power. But these same forces can also teach respect and caution. Sailors learn to read the signs of wind and wave. Farmers understand the power of tides and floods, and cities recognize the need to honor the god of the sea through temples, rituals, and offerings. Poseidon's influence is constant, unpredictable, yet patterned, like the rhythmic pulse of waves gently hitting the shore before a storm. The Trojan War also showcases Poseidon's involvement in human conflict. He supports the Greeks at times, helping construct ships, guiding warriors, or even unsettling Trojan forces through earthquakes and sea interventions. Yet he remains autonomous, his actions often motivated by personal grievances, divine rivalries, or the demands of cosmic balance. The narratives blend heroism, strategy, and divine temperament, immersing listeners in a world where mortals are shaped as much by gods as by their own choices. Poseidon's interactions with other gods further enrich these myths. His alliances and rivalries, whether with Zeus, Hera, Athena, or Apollo, highlight his complexity. He collaborates, competes, and even punishes fellow deities when necessary, revealing a god whose temperament is as fluid as the seas he commands. Every clash, every negotiation, every act of guidance or punishment becomes a story to be felt. The creak of ships, the whisper of waves, the distant thunder of an approaching storm, all echoing Poseidon's omnipresence. These myths, Poseidon emerges not just as a god of storms and seas, but as a teacher, a challenger, and a force of nature intertwined with human experience. His adventures are rich with lessons about respect, courage, and the delicate balance between mortal ambition and divine will. Listeners can visualize the ocean's vastness, feel the thrill of adventure, and sense the god's unseen hand shaping the course of history, all while drifting toward a calm, immersive state of awareness. Finally, consider the quieter tales, mortals who prayed for safe passage, heroes guided by dolphins or tritons, and villages spared from storms through careful offerings. These stories remind us that Poseidon is not only a god of grand cataclysmic events, but also a guardian and participant in everyday life, reinforcing the rhythm of the sea, the stability of the land, and the flow of human endeavor. As we continue exploring Poseidon's adventures, we move beyond the great contests and monumental acts of power to the subtle ways his presence shapes the world. His influence touches heroes, mortals, and even minor creatures of the sea, reminding us that the god of the ocean is never far from the tides of life. During the Trojan War, Poseidon's role is both strategic and deeply personal. Though he does not favor one side entirely, he supports the Greeks by supplying them with strong ships and favorable winds. At the same time, he subtly challenges the Trojans, raising minor storms or shifting the coastline to their disadvantage. These acts illustrate his dual nature, helping when respect is shown, punishing when arrogance prevails. Imagine the sound of waves crashing against the hulls of ships, the creak of timbers, and the salt-laden wind sweeping across warriors' faces, a gentle ASMR portrayal of divine intervention in mortal conflict. Poseidon's interactions with other Olympians further enrich the tales. With Zeus, he balances power and loyalty, sometimes cooperating in large-scale divine decisions, sometimes challenging the king of the gods to assert his own authority. Hera's influence, at times, tempers his temperament, reminding him of diplomacy, family, and cosmic order. Even Apollo, the god of light and prophecy, must respect Poseidon's domain when navigating maritime journeys or storms. These interactions show that the seas, like Olympus itself, are a place of negotiation, power, and consequence, and that Poseidon's presence is felt even when he is not directly involved. Beyond heroes and gods, Poseidon often aids or punishes mortals in quieter ways. Dolphins guided by the god help lost sailors find safe passage. Triton blows his conch to signal approaching storms or calm waters. In some accounts, small coastal villages honored Poseidon with miniature shrines or daily offerings, seeking his favor for fishing, trade, and travel. Imagine standing on a quiet beach, the conch's soft call blending with the gentle surf, feeling a sense of calm assurance. This is Poseidon's protective aspect, subtle yet omnipresent. Sea monsters and minor mythic creatures also feature prominently. Poseidon commands krakens, sea serpents, and even mischievous spirits of the tides, sometimes sending them to test mortals or humble kings. These tales, while thrilling, often carry moral lessons about respect, humility, and the limits of human ambition. Picture a dark, moonlit ocean where shadows move beneath the surface, waves brushing against hidden rocks, and a faint ripple signaling Poseidon's unseen hand. Every story, Every creature, every storm becomes a way for listeners to feel the vastness and unpredictability of his realm. Poseidon's dual nature extends to subtle blessings. Fishermen who honor him may find nets full of fish, coastal lands may prosper with fertile beaches, and travelers experience safe passage. These acts, gentle yet profound, remind mortals that the sea is a teacher. It gives generously to those who respect it, and withdraws or punishes those who act with arrogance. This nuanced storytelling allows us to dwell on his character, moving slowly through each myth in a calm, friendly pace, letting each word resonate and carry the listener deeper into Poseidon's world. Even minor tales offer insights. Consider the story of Amphitrite rescuing sailors caught in storms, or of a small village spared from earthquake damage after carefully performing Poseidon's rituals. These episodes, though brief, enrich the tapestry of Poseidon's mythology, showing that the god's influence permeates both monumental events and everyday life. Through these stories, Poseidon emerges as a god who is imposing, protective, and deeply connected to the natural world. Every wave, every tide, every tremor in the earth is a manifestation of his presence. By understanding these myths, we also understand the rhythm of human interaction with the natural world, the delicate balance of respect, fear, and wonder that defines life by the sea. As you listen, imagine standing on a cliff or shoreline, feeling the wind carry the scent of salt and the distant sound of waves. Every ripple, every gust, and every shimmer of light on the water is infused with Poseidon's essence. His myths teach not only of power and anger, but of patience, guidance, and the subtle ways the divine touches mortal lives. This concludes the epic adventures of Poseidon, highlighting both his dramatic interventions and gentle influences, and leaving us with a full picture of a god whose reach stretches across oceans, continents, and the hearts of mortals. Poseidon's worship was as vast and varied as the oceans themselves. Across the Greek world, coastal cities, islands, and riverine settlements honored him with temples, altars, and festivals, each reflecting the god's multifaceted nature. He was revered not only as the ruler of seas and earthquakes, but also as a protector of sailors, fishermen, and coastal communities who depended on the sea for survival. The Temple of Poseidon at Sunion, perched dramatically atop cliffs overlooking the Aegean Sea, is perhaps the most iconic. Imagine standing there, the wind tugging at your robes, waves crashing against jagged rocks below, and the scent of salt and seaweed filling the air. Pilgrims approached with quiet reverence, carrying offerings of food, coins, and sometimes animals, hoping to earn Poseidon's favor for safe passage or abundant harvests from the sea. The temple itself, with its Doric columns, gleamed in the sunlight, a testament to human devotion, meeting divine power. Other sanctuaries dotted the Greek world, from Corinth to Isthmia, each with unique rituals and festivals. The Isthmian Games, held in Poseidon's honor, included athletic competitions, musical contests, and sacrifices, a reminder that worship was both communal and celebratory. During these events, the rhythmic sound of waves from nearby waters and the hum of human activity created a natural ASMR-like environment, blending divine presence with earthly experience. Priestesses and priests played central roles in Poseidon's cult, performing rituals to calm storms, bless ships, and appease the god during times of unrest. Offerings ranged from simple incense to elaborate sacrifices, depending on the occasion and the wealth of the city. Imagine the careful placement of these offerings, the scent of burning herbs mingling with the briny air, and the soft chant of prayers rising in harmony with the distant sea. An intimate connection between mortals and the god of the deep. Poseidon's legacy extends beyond ancient temples. Through art, literature, and sculpture, his image persists, a majestic figure with flowing hair and beard, wielding his trident, commanding the waves, or riding a chariot drawn by hippocampi. In vase paintings, coins, and mosaics, the god's power and temperament are immortalized, his presence bridging the gap between mythology and tangible human culture. The Romans later adapted Poseidon into Neptune, retaining much of his aquatic domain while emphasizing naval power and city protection. Festivals like the Neptunalia celebrated water and its importance to human life, showing that the reverence for this god transcended cultures and centuries. Neptune inherited Poseidon's dual nature, embodying both calm guidance and tempestuous power, a lasting reminder of the god's enduring influence. By exploring Poseidon's temples and worship, we gain insight not only into religious practices, but also into the cultural significance of the sea in ancient life. The ocean was a source of sustenance, a means of travel, and a symbol of mystery and danger. Through devotion to Poseidon, humans sought to understand, respect, and align themselves with these natural forces, creating rituals and myths that continue to resonate today. As you listen, imagine walking along a marble colonnade, feeling the gentle sea breeze, hearing the distant waves, and watching sunlight dance across the water. Each step, each breath, each whispered prayer connects you to the same reverence felt by ancient worshippers, drawing you deeper into Poseidon's world and the cultural legacy he leaves behind. As Greek mythology spread and evolved, Poseidon's influence continued to be felt across cultures and centuries. In Roman mythology, he became Neptune, retaining his dominion over the seas while gaining added significance in matters of naval power and civic life. Neptune's image mirrored Poseidon's, a majestic god wielding his trident, commanding the waves, and standing as a symbol of strength, authority, and the raw beauty of the natural world. Neptune's worship incorporated many of Poseidon's earlier traditions. Coastal cities and naval fleets honored him, holding festivals and performing sacrifices to ensure calm seas and protect sailors. The Neptunalia, celebrated during the heat of summer, was both a practical and symbolic observance, a recognition of water's importance in sustaining life and civilization. Imagine the sound of rivers flowing, fountains splashing, and the soft murmur of townspeople paying homage, a calm, rhythmic atmosphere that echoes the devotion of generations. In art and literature, Poseidon's legacy remained vivid. Roman mosaics, sculptures, and frescoes depict him as a commanding figure, sometimes accompanied by dolphins, horses, or tritons. Poets, from Ovid to Virgil, wove his stories into epic tales recounting the heroism, wrath, and guidance he bestowed upon mortals. These adaptations preserved the essence of his dual nature, protector and punisher, serene and tempestuous, mighty yet intimately connected to human life. Even in the Renaissance, Poseidon's imagery continued to inspire. Paintings and sculptures captured him rising from the waves, trident in hand, embodying the eternal struggle between humanity and the forces of nature. Artists emphasize the fluidity and motion of water, the grandeur of his presence, and the delicate balance between awe and fear he inspired. These depictions allowed Poseidon to remain relevant long after the collapse of classical civilizations, reminding viewers of the timeless allure of the sea and its divine ruler. Through this Roman and post-classical lens, Poseidon's stories evolved but retained their core themes: the power of the ocean, the importance of respect and humility, and the delicate interplay between divine authority and human endeavor remained central. Listeners can imagine centuries of devotion, the echo of waves on distant shores, the soft rustle of ritual garments, and the quiet, eternal presence of a god who continues to shape imagination and culture. By examining Poseidon's later myth and Roman equivalent, we see not only the continuity of belief, but also the adaptability of mythology itself. The same stories that shaped Greek sailors, heroes, cities now influenced Roman culture and artistic expression, demonstrating the enduring power of myth to teach, inspire, and captivate. Poseidon's myths are more than stories of power, wrath, and adventure. They are reflections of the human relationship with nature, authority, and respect. From the towering waves to the calmest seas, his presence teaches lessons about balance, humility, and the understanding that strength must be tempered with care. One of the most profound lessons from Poseidon is the duality of power. He can be a protector of sailors and a punisher of hubris, rewarding those who show respect and humility while testing the arrogance of mortals. This reminds us that the natural world, like the sea, requires attentiveness, reverence, and thoughtful interaction. The gentle ASMR sound of waves lapping against the shore, distant gulls calling, and a soft breeze serves as a sensory reflection of these lessons, a quiet, calming reminder of the god's enduring influence. Poseidon's symbolism also extends to freedom and unpredictability. The ocean, boundless and ever-changing, mirrors the god's temperament and the human experience. Storms arise, tides ebb and flow, and yet there is a rhythm and pattern underlying the apparent chaos. In this sense, Poseidon embodies the beauty and power of life itself, a reminder to navigate our own journeys with respect, patience, and awareness of forces larger than ourselves. Through his myths, we see the importance of family, loyalty, and responsibility. From Amphitrite and Triton to mortal heroes guided by his hand, Poseidon's stories emphasize connection and guidance. Even when his wrath manifests, it often carries lessons or corrections, highlighting that consequences are natural extensions of interaction with the world and with divine or natural power. Poseidon also represents the imagination and cultural memory of humanity. His influence on art, literature, and ritual reminds us that myth is not static. It evolves, teaching and inspiring across centuries. The god's dual nature, his adventures, and his enduring presence in temples, festivals, and art show that he is not only a character of stories, but also a symbol of the ocean's power, the rhythms of nature, and the human spirit's engagement with forces beyond our control. As we conclude, let's imagine standing at the edge of a quiet shoreline. The water gently kisses the sand, a soft breeze brushes your skin, and the distant sound of waves forms a calming, rhythmic pattern. Poseidon's presence is felt not through fear, but through awe, reverence, and gentle guidance. Every ripple, every whisper of the wind, every shimmer of moonlight on the water carries the essence of the god of the sea. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Poseidon's world, his adventures, his temper, his family, and his enduring influence. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment where and when you are watching. Your support helps these stories continue to reach those who seek calm, fascination, and the gentle embrace of mythology. May the waves of Poseidon's domain lull you into a peaceful, reflective state. Sleep well, drift calmly, and carry the lessons of the sea with you. The rhythm, the patience, and the quiet strength of the God who rules the oceans. Good night.